A white police officer, smirking with unearned confidence, confronts a black female soldier in the busy train station. She shows her military ID, but they call it fake, humiliating her in front of everyone. Just when all seems lost, the tables turn in a way no one saw coming. Stay tuned. Lieutenant Zara Thompson stepped off the train at Grand Central Station. Her navy dress uniform was impeccable, ribbons and medals gleaming under the station lights. After 18 months deployed on an aircraft carrier, she was finally home to surprise her father in Harlem before reporting to her base in Virginia. She adjusted her service cap and checked her phone for her sister's message. As she navigated through the crowded terminal, she noticed the stares, not of respect or gratitude, but suspicion. A group of security guards whispered to each other. A white man pulled his child closer as she passed. 2 transit officers tracked her every move. Zara had worn the uniform long enough to know the difference between admiration and distrust. Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. She exhaled slowly. This wasn't new. Zara had faced this before, people questioning how a black woman could be a naval officer. Today, though, something felt different. The air crackled with tension. As she approached the main concourse, a sharp voice cut through the station noise. "Hey, you there, stop right now." Zara froze. Her shoulders tensed. Carefully, she turned to see 2 police officers marching toward her. Officer Trent Walsh, a stocky man with cold gray eyes, had his hand hovering near his weapon. His partner, Officer Vanessa Pierce, a thin woman with a permanent scowl, stared at Zara with open contempt. Zara kept her movements deliberate and her hands visible, a survival tactic she'd learned years ago. "Is there a problem, officers?" she asked, her voice steady and professional. Walsh sneered. "Yeah, there's a problem. We received information about someone impersonating military personnel, and here you are in that fancy uniform." Zara blinked in disbelief. "Excuse me?" "Don't play dumb," Pierce snapped. "Where did you get that uniform?" Zara stood taller. "I earned it through years of service to this country." Walsh laughed. "Right. You expect us to believe that?" He pointed at her duffel bag. "Open it, now." A crowd began to form. Commuters slowed their pace, watching the scene unfold. A teenager raised his phone and started recording. Zara took a measured breath. "Unless you have probable cause, you have no right to search my belongings. I've done nothing wrong." Pierce stepped closer, her voice dripping with disdain. "Listen here, girl. You'll do exactly what we tell you, or we'll make you regret it." The word girl stung like a slap. Zara's jaw tightened, but her composure remained intact. "I am not a girl. I am Lieutenant Zara Thompson of the United States Navy, and you have no right to harass me." Walsh smirked. "That's funny, because we got a report about a black female pretending to be military, and you fit the description perfectly." Zara's blood boiled. "You think I stole this uniform? These medals? My own identity?" Pierce grabbed Zara's arm roughly. "I don't think. I know." "Hands behind your back, now." The crowd gasped collectively. A small white girl tugged at her mother's sleeve, asking why the police were being mean to the soldier. Zara didn't resist, but she didn't submit either. "I will not be treated like a criminal. I've served this country through 2 deployments. I deserve basic respect." Walsh yanked the duffel bag from her shoulder and dumped its contents onto the station floor. Her military documents, neatly pressed civilian clothes, and personal items scattered across the dirty tiles. "See? What did I tell you?" Walsh announced triumphantly. "Fake." Pierce nodded. "Looks like we caught ourselves a fraud." Zara's expression hardened. "Call my commanding officer. This can be resolved in minutes." Pierce shoved Zara against a pillar. "You don't get to make demands." Walsh reached for his radio. We have a situation at the East Concourse. Suspect resisting arrest. That's a lie, someone shouted. The officers turned to see a white woman in her 60s stepping forward from the crowd. I've been watching this whole disgraceful scene. This officer hasn't resisted anything. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. More phones appeared, recording the confrontation. Someone yelled, "This is blatant racism." But the officers remained unmoved. Walsh pulled out his handcuffs while Pierce twisted Zara's arm behind her back. Zara winced but found her voice. "Do you have any idea who I am beyond this uniform?" Walsh rolled his eyes. "Yeah, you're nobody pretending to be somebody." Then a commanding voice echoed through the terminal. "Release that naval officer immediately." The crowd parted. A tall black woman in a transit authority chief's uniform strode purposefully toward them. Her badge read Chief Dominique Harper. Walsh and Pierce stiffened visibly. "Chief?" Walsh stammered, suddenly uncertain. Harper's eyes blazed with controlled fury. "I said release her, now." The officers hesitated before finally letting go. Zara straightened her uniform, her wrists throbbing from their grip. Harper turned to Zara. "Are you all right, Lieutenant?" Zara nodded. "Yes, ma'am. But these officers just assaulted me, falsely accused me of a crime, and disrespected both me and my service." Harper's expression darkened. She turned to Walsh and Pierce. "Both of you, my office, this instant." "But Chief," Pierce began to protest. "Now," Harper thundered. Walsh paled. Pierce's confidence evaporated. They knew their careers hung in the balance. Harper addressed Zara again. "Lieutenant, I promise you these officers will face appropriate consequences for their actions today." The crowd erupted in applause. Some people cheered openly. The elderly white woman who had spoken up nodded in satisfaction as the officers slunk away toward their reckoning. Zara exhaled slowly. Justice wasn't complete yet, but it was coming, and it would be swift. If you're enjoying this story and want to hear more, hit that subscribe button now. Don't miss out. Inside the Transit Authority headquarters, tension filled the small conference room. Officers Walsh and Pierce sat rigidly in uncomfortable chairs, their expressions a mixture of defiance and fear. Across from them stood Chief Dominique Harper, her posture commanding, her gaze unflinching. Lieutenant Zara Thompson stood by the window, her uniform still dignified despite the ordeal. She wasn't here for a simple apology. She was here to ensure accountability. The door opened, and a white man in his 50s entered. His nameplate identified him as Commissioner Benjamin Frost. His expression was grave as he surveyed the room. "I've reviewed the security footage," Frost began without preamble, "and I've seen dozens of social media videos of the incident. Would someone care to explain why two of my officers publicly harassed a decorated naval officer?" Before Walsh could speak, Harper intervened. "These officers racially profiled Lieutenant Thompson, physically assaulted her, and attempted to arrest her without cause or evidence." Frost's gaze hardened. "Is this accurate?" Walsh cleared his throat. "Sir, we received a report about someone impersonating military personnel. We were just following protocol." "Protocol?" Frost's voice was dangerously quiet. Was it protocol to ignore her military ID? Was it protocol to dump her belongings on the floor? Was it protocol to announce she was resisting when the footage clearly shows she wasn't? Pierce shifted uncomfortably. "We had reason to believe." "The only reason you had," Harper cut in, "was the color of her skin." A tense silence filled the room. Frost turned to Zara. "Lieutenant Thompson, on behalf of this department, I offer my sincere apologies. Your treatment today was inexcusable." Zara met his gaze steadily. "With respect, Commissioner. Apologies don't address systemic problems. What happens next matters more than words." Frost nodded. You're absolutely right. He turned back to the officers. Both of you are suspended without pay, effective immediately. Furthermore, this incident will trigger a full departmental investigation into your conduct and past complaints. Walsh jumped to his feet. This is outrageous. We were doing our jobs. Sit down, Officer Walsh, Frost commanded. When Walsh remained standing, Frost continued, That wasn't a request. Walsh slowly sank back into his chair. What you don't know, Frost continued, is who Lieutenant Thompson actually is beyond her uniform. The room fell silent. Lieutenant Thompson isn't just any naval officer. She's the daughter of Judge William Thompson of the Federal Court of Appeals, the same judge who's heading the Oversight Committee for Police Reform in this city. Walsh and Pierce paled visibly. But there was more. Harper stepped forward, and before joining the Navy, Lieutenant Thompson graduated from Harvard Law. She specialized in civil rights violations. The revelation hit like a thunderbolt. Walsh's mouth opened and closed without sound. Pierce stared at the floor. Zara hadn't wanted to use her father's position or her legal background. She'd hoped her uniform would be enough to command respect. But now, seeing the officers' reactions, she understood the power of privilege and how she could use it to create change. I wasn't going to mention this, Zara said quietly. But given the circumstances, I should inform you that I've already spoken with the ACLU. They're very interested in this case. Frost rubbed his temples. This just keeps getting worse. A knock at the door interrupted them. A young officer entered, looking nervous. Sir, there's something you should see. He handed Frost a tablet. Frost's expression darkened as he scrolled through whatever was on the screen. It seems Officer Walsh and Officer Pierce have quite a history. 7 complaints of racial profiling in the past year alone. 3 excessive force allegations, and most interestingly, a pattern of targeting military personnel of color. That's not true, Pierce protested. Harper took the tablet from Frost, reviewed it, and passed it to Zara. It appears you weren't their first victim, Lieutenant. Just the first with enough power to fight back. The revelation shifted something in Zara. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about all those who came before her, those without a judge for a father or a law degree to protect them. Commissioner, Zara said, her voice firm, I want to propose something beyond individual punishment. This department needs structural change. Frost looked intrigued. I'm listening. I'll be stationed nearby for the next year. I'd like to help develop a training program for your officer zone that addresses implicit bias and proper interaction with military personnel. Harper smiled for the first time. That's an excellent idea. Walsh scoffed. This is ridiculous. We don't need. Officer Walsh, Frost interrupted. You're not just suspended anymore. You're fired. Both of you. Turn in your badges and guns before you leave the building. The room fell silent again. Pierce began to cry quietly. Walsh sat in stunned disbelief. As the former officers were escorted out, Zara gathered her belongings. The day had started with humiliation, but was ending with purpose. She hadn't asked for this fight, but now that it had found her, she would use it to create lasting change. Outside the building, reporters had gathered, alerted by the viral videos. Zara stepped into the sunlight, flanked by Harper and Frost. Cameras flashed, microphones appeared. Lieutenant Thompson, one reporter called, how does it feel to be vindicated? Zara considered the question carefully. This isn't about vindication, it's about accountability. Today, the system worked as it should, but for many others, it doesn't. That's why I'm staying to help fix it. As the press conference continued, a young black girl watched from the crowd, her eyes wide with admiration. Zara noticed her and smiled. The girl straightened her posture, mirroring Zara's confident stance. That night, as the story spread across social media and news outlets, millions watched the footage of a black female naval officer standing her ground against injustice and winning. For some, it was entertainment. For others, inspiration. But for Zara Thompson, it was just the beginning of a new mission, ensuring that the uniform she'd earned would command respect for everyone who wore it, regardless of their skin color. If you believe stories like this need to be told, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Because change doesn't come from silence, it comes from voices like yours demanding better. And sometimes, justice wears a uniform that was earned, not stolen.